Six Flags, Georgia, Coasters, Part 1. Check it out, now. Warning, this video is not suitable for some viewers. Also, I may have used some of your clips in this video. Ah, break's over, back to more coasters. It's time to talk about the park's kiddie coaster. Or is it a family coaster? Well, it doesn't matter to me, for I have not ridden this. Yes, I do have the stomach to ride this, but do you really expect me to wait 30 minutes to get on a kiddie coaster? No. It's a capacity nightmare, and it's the only coaster here that would safely be called a kiddie coaster. It's a shame really, because this looks like a fun coaster to ride. But I have much bigger and better capacity coasters to get to, so let's move on. Alright, what's next? It's not like I skipped past a big and cramped steel contraption. Oh, come on guys. I'm not riding the Vekoma. Not by a long shot. Remember when I said that the transitions into the Cobra roll on the Knott's Boomerang were rough? Well, this looks like a full minute of that kind of Vekoma head bashing. I'm sorry, but this ride is rightfully getting skipped. I gotta man up. What if this coaster isn't as bad as it looks? What if I'm just over-exaggerating the whole process? Well, there is only one way to answer all of those questions. Hey brother, have you ridden this blue coaster right here?
I have not.
Oh fine, I'll ride it myself. Alright, before we get into Blue Hawk, I would just like to mention that this coaster wasn't originally built for Six Flags Over Georgia. This contraption by Vekoma was originally built for Conco's Party Pier in Wildwood, New Jersey. So let me get this completely straight. This is a coaster by a manufacturer that is known for making rough rides, and this was completely deconstructed and reconstructed from another park, making it even more rough? Yep, I'm going to die! Blue Hawk first arrived at the park in 1992 as Ninja, which is pretty much the same experience as this, but red. And I'm pretty sure that's the only difference between both rides. Once you walk up to the ride and walk over to the station in the middle of the water, you lock into soft vest restraints? Yeah, all my crying back then was useless. Thank you, Six Flags! Thank you for solving a problem that you knew you had. Going through the ride's course, the vests really help the ride. They kind of crush your shoulders, but if you get used to that, you're as good as gold. This ride has 5 inversions, and I liked every single one of them. Blue Hawk features a butterfly double inversion, a sidewinder, and a classic double corkscrew. The butterfly is forceful and unique, only being featured on one other coaster that should really get Blue Hawk's treatment. The sidewinder is pretty compact and forceful, and the double corkscrew is very quick and dizzying. All of these inversions serve their purpose, but let's get back to that sidewinder, in which I called compact for fitting its way around the ride, because hell, this whole ride is very compact. Just looking at it off-ride, it looks like it was designed by Picasso. It's crazy that they fit so much into such a small space. The twists, the turns, the inversions, the fact that this ride is still kind of rough. I mean, what? Yep. Even with all the improvements, this ride still has a little ninja on board slightly kicking your ass. Your head may be fine, but your back, not so much. So to get a much smoother experience on rides like these, here's one big tip. Ride in an odd row. You know, the front of each car. Somehow, it feels much smoother and not filled with constant shaking. But you still have to brace yourself, as your ass will still be kicked. But I don't care, this ride still rocks my socks off. This ride is completely safe to ride even if you don't really like rough rides. It's tight, forceful, and the structure passing by your head as you're going through is a frightening little touch. Like the ride is one big guillotine. I really like this ride, but it's not going to get that high of a score due to it still being pretty rough. Sorry, gotta try to please everyone with my scores. Blue Hawk receives 6 out of 10. Looks like I was over-exaggerating the whole process earlier. So much for my fear of Vekoma. We've hit up some averagely sized coasters today. Are we going to hit up those types of coasters all day? Absolutely not. Let's ride the park's biggest coaster. Goliath, the hypercoaster with constant giant hills, was the first hypercoaster in the South, opening in 2006, aka the most infamous year in Six Flags history, selling off so many parks because they built too many massive coasters. And Over Georgia's Goliath is one of those big-ass coasters. Standing at exactly 200 feet, this coaster just makes the mark of being called a hypercoaster, where a coaster has to have between 200 and 299 feet of height. You may recognize this coaster from all over the damn park, both inside and outside, so a coaster this massive really excites me. And best of all, I know that this coaster is going to be good because it was made by Bolliger and Mabillard, not Bolliger and Mabillard. So let's hop right on. The first thing you notice when you're situated on the train is how comfortable the trains are. The seat is very wide open and the clamshell lap bar gives you maximum comfort and maybe a lot of legroom too. Now this is what all steel coaster lap bars should be like. So you're all comfortable and you head 200 feet up and then do a 170 foot drop? Alright, then after that, you do a giant airtime hill with a 175 foot drop? Okay, let me explain one thing. This coaster is very well designed. This ride is primarily built right on a hill and because of that, it tries to fit around the terrain as much as possible. Yes, this ride is mostly high off the ground, but it still works well with having the second drop bigger than the first. But the great design of the terrain is just the beginning. Goliath has a lot of airtime, mainly because the airtime is so sustained over those hills. And like any other B&M Hyper, the airtime here is mostly pure floater. And even though it's not as strong as Ejector, the spacious restraint system more than makes up for that little critique. There's also this helix after a few hills, and this is where the ride kicks into high gear. This helix is forceful, like lose your vision forceful, and then a load of trim brakes. Ouch! That's going to hurt the speed, and we haven't gotten to the mid-course brake run yet. Psych! No mid-course here, just non-stop action for a whole minute. Speaking of non-stop action, these hills at the end are gorgeous. Just wow!
Wow.
I swear these hills provide ejector airtime, which is probably the most rare thing you would find on these B&M Hypers, outside of inversions of course. This is easily my favorite coaster in the park. Well, it would be my favorite coaster if it weren't for its rattling all throughout.
Whoa, this puppy's got some vibration to it. This baby will put a smile on your face.
Goliath's rattle is something that really jostles my brain cells around. That doesn't take away from the airtime, far from it, just the portions that are not airtime. Therefore, it sits in second nearly behind Twisted Cyclone. So of course I still find this ride amazing after all of this. Goliath at Over Georgia receives 9 out of 10. A massive ride gets a massive score, just like how it should be. But doesn't that mean all the smaller rides get a lower score? Holy Batman, it's Batman! So, you want to make a Batman coaster, don't you? Well, here are some easy steps to do so. Step 1. Get a lot of steel. Step 2. Call over a bunch of buff men to bend the steel. Step 3. Ask for some trains and glue the top of every single seat. Step 4. Get a Batman logo or two. And step 5. Put the whole shindig into a blender and blend at max speed. And then boom! You've got yourself a Batman coaster.
It's that easy.
The Batman clones are a type of B&M inverted coaster that have been very successful over the past 2.5 decades. They became so successful that 10 clones of these rides have been built all throughout the world, and Six Flags Over Georgia got one of their own in 1997. Batman sits right on the side of the park, which also means that it is officially a parking lot coaster. So God bless the pavement. The flat, ugly piece of white-lined land. Blech. Once you walk to this ride, you notice that it has the worst type of station imaginable, a metal box. Because when you think of a Batcave, you obviously think of a big, bland metal box. Enjoy your heat stroke. At least the actual coaster station is kind of nice. The Batman logo really adds a bit of atmosphere for something so singular. But enough with the minor details. Batman, hit us with your best shot. One of the main things you think about while going up the lift hill is, holy crap, I'm on a B&M invert. My body is not going to be the same after this. With that said though, holy forces Batman! This may be only 100 feet tall, but this ride is, without question, one of the most intense roller coasters out there. And this could also be said about the rest of the Batman clones. The positive forces are so strong, like super strong. Batman's not a superhuman for nothing, and this ride goes to show for him. This first drop, first loop combo alone will knock your socks off into oblivion and make your eyesight go gray. And we're just getting started. There are elements that snap you around, put you in 0G, and even force your body down so hard that your legs turn to jelly. Hey Silver Bullet, why weren't you like this? Because I was a mistake. Alright, whatever you say. So Batman, what else do you want me to say about your ride? Ooh, I'm Batman. But I already talked about all of that. Ooh, I'm Batman. So you're saying that I should finish talking about your ride and go bother the Joker? I mean, that's not even a coaster over there, and I'm only talking about the... I'm Batman. Yeah. I'm just gonna go home and feed my goldfish. Batman the Ride receives 8 out of 10. I'm Batman. Like I said before, no means no, Batman. Now let me... I'm Batman. Oh, you were talking about the Riddler? Alright then. Hello again, Schwarzkopf. It's nice to see your coasters appear everywhere. Though Riddler Mindbender, I'm just going to call it Mindbender for old time's sake, opened all the way back in 1978, making it one of the oldest coasters in the park. Since this ride sits right in the park's Gotham City area, it was given a Riddler theme in 1997, or in more accurate words, it was just given new paint and new question marks. I'm Batman. You said it, Batman. This is indeed pretty disappointing. So just walking up to the ride, this coaster normally has a very short wait. Like seriously, the rest of the rides here rock some hour waits while Little Mindbender over here gets a straight up walk on. So with that said, let's walk right on. After getting in your usual Schwarzkopf train, you're straight up the lift hill, straight through a turnaround, straight down a drop, and into the godlike vertical loop! Damn, the forces are good here, and the rest of the ride ain't fooling around too. You got some hops, more drops, an awesome helix, and another vertical loop which is somehow more forceful than the first. Schwarzkopf, take my yes. Now you're probably wondering, wait, the second loop is just as big as the first. How is it more forceful? Simple. The terrain. This entire ride is built on the side of a hill. All the turns, all the drops, all the loops, everything. Making this one of my favorite layouts on a coaster. And this thing is over 40 years old. Yes, it still shakes you around a bit, but my mind is completely bent. Damn, this thing is really intense. Don't you think so, Batman? Batman? You there? Alright, what's the... Oh my god! The Riddler Mindbender receives 8 out of 10. How convenient that two of the park's most intense coasters are right next to each other. Anyways, time to climb back up the hill and finish off the rest of the park's roller coasters. What do you say, mini hang time? Daredevil Dive opened in 2011, the same year when Six Flags opened one of their best coasters and also one of their worst. This ride only sits at 95 feet tall and has just under 2,100 feet of length. So we're going to go into this with a pretty short ride. If you remembered when I reviewed Hang Time, well, this is the exact predecessor to that ride, hanging over and everything. So Daredevil Dive, show me what you've got. After waiting through the horrible capacity, you sit down in a weird staggered train with over-the-head lap bars. They're not as good as Hang Time's lap bars, but it's perfectly acceptable. I'm gonna go non-stop with comparing this ride to Hang Time, aren't I? Well, it also has this vertical lift hill, so yes, I am. Deal with it. Instead of directly going down the big drop like every other Gerstlauer Eurofighter, you sort of just break a good way down. Not fully break like Hang Time, but you slowly make your way down before you do any rolling and coasting. But after that, this first inversion is really good. Once you start twisting, it's full force the whole way through. Through the inversion, I mean. The rest of the ride is not that forceful, to be quite frank. Now, this doesn't mean the rest of the ride is completely forceless. The turn after the first inversion is alright, that second inversion is pretty good, and that final inversion has some great hang time. Hell, I would say that this inversion has more hang time than Hang Time has hang time. Stop saying hang time! Hang time. Yeah, this ride is pretty good. Nothing too spectacular, just good. Not every coaster has to be extremely uber elite to be a fun ride. Just have some exciting elements like this ride and there you go.
It's just that easy.
Daredevil Dive receives 7 out of 10. But just be warned, this is a very low capacity ride. So if you get to this park early, I highly recommend riding this beyond vertical contraption first. Alright, we only have one coaster left, ladies and gents, and it's the one that I originally started on before the RMC fever got to me. It's time to stand up or stand out. Alright, where was I with this ride? Oh yeah! Georgia Scorcher opened in 1999 and is one of the only remaining stand-up coasters in the world. So you're telling me that we have to stand up for this ride instead of sit down? Okay, whatever floats a boat here. This was B&M's final stand-up coaster they ever manufactured, and I'm kind of scared of what's going to happen to my body from this ride. Well, there's only one way to find out. I'm going to take the stand, whether I'm ready or not. After standing in line for a while, because stand-up coaster operations are like an old lady being helped down the street by a sloth, you stand up on a bicycle seat. Yep, wave goodbye to your nuts, gentlemen. And if that's not enough, then how about we slap on those bulky over-the-shoulder restraints, but have them fit extremely close to your head. Oh boy, time to prepare for the pain. But wait, can we make this a lot less painful? Well, there is one method to increase comfort. When adjusting your seat, bend your knees just a little bit. Not all the way, just a tiny bit. So when the seats are locked, you get to stand with a lot less nut crushing. Anyways, we're all situated and we're out of here. Wow, I did not expect that much smoothness. Well, turn me into a Pikachu and call me shocked, because that's exactly what I am from this ride. You know what? I'm gonna ride this again, towards the front this time, because my surprise for this ride is gonna go a long way. Hey, you. Yeah, you. Come over here. Just listen to what I have to say, alright? Listen loud and clear when I say this. What the hell, man? You were smooth a few minutes ago, but now my head was randomly jostling around. Like, man, am I disappointed in you now. You have anything to say back? No? Then go back to your corner, boy. Hey, Reek, what happened? Fucking stand-up coasters, that's what happened. Stand-up coasters are the most mixed quality coasters you can find. Having taken 2 rides on this, one ride was great, and the other, not so much. Let's go through the layout first. For such a small-scale stand-up coaster, it has a great layout. The track profiling is smooth and there's not a single dull bit of wasted track. I like the forces on that vertical loop, I love the snappiness on that corkscrew, and the rest of the twists and turns are integrated very well. But now onto the smoothness of the ride. My back row ride on this was as smooth as a stand-up coaster can get. Every element just flowed perfectly, but my ride towards the front is much different. I was jostling my head from left to right from start to finish, and I have no clue what the hell happened. It was maybe a bad seat, I don't know. What I do know is that my thoughts on this ride fluctuated for the worst. My original score for this ride was going to be a 7 out of 10, but when I rode it again, I would rather give it a 5. But I'm not going to give this ride either of those scores. No, I'm going right in the middle, right between those 2 experiences. So now, the Georgia Scorcher receives 6 out of 10. I stood, I conquered, and I got my butt kicked just a tiny bit. And there we have it. All of the coasters at Six Flags Over Georgia have finally been reviewed. Sorry, no ranking the coasters, at least for now, but I gotta rest up from this heat and humidity. Stay tuned for more stuff from SingleRiderReak, and have a thrilling rest of the day. Glad you have good timing, bus man.